I'd like to call to order the Clarkston Independence District Library Board of Trustees meeting for December 11th, 2017 at 6:04. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Jan Gaffney.
Here.
Michelle Ginn.
Here.
Dan Green.
Here.
Mary Himberg.
Here.
Allison McDadden-Keesling.
Here.
Marilyn Pomeroy.
Here.
Ann Rose.
Here.
Julie Meredith here.
Right. I'll accept motion for the approval of the agenda. So moved. Second. Been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as presented. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. We have our call to the public. Hello, public.
Hi there, Julie Lewis on behalf of the Friends of the Library. The only thing I have to share with you this evening is the results of our holiday book sale, which was held the first weekend of this month. We had, some of these numbers are approximate, but we had about 24 volunteers giving about 133 hours of service. And we had approximately 226 paid customers that came through the doors and bought some books, for a net profit of $2,209.78. That was for the two-day sale. So, and our next meeting is Thursday, so that's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we will close the call to the public. The consent agenda is rather long tonight, but I'll accept the motion to approve it.
So moved.
I'll second. Anyone wish to question anything on it? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, motion is carried. Library statistics colorfully are in front of us.
The report that I got on library statistics, Brad wanted to point out that we have a 15% increase over November of 2016 in Overdrive patrons, an 18% increase over November of 2016 in downloads for Overdrive. And we have the highest number of patrons and downloads to date for Hoopla, so both of those services are growing. And I don't know if you have anything you wanted to point out? No, you don't have to, that's fine. I didn't need to put you on the spot.
Without copying.
Sorry. Thank you, Bill.
It'll be interesting to see what happens now that we've reconfigured some of our adult spaces and teen spaces, what our wireless usage looks like.
Wireless has grown quite a lot.
Yeah, wireless is growing pretty consistently every month. It does go up every month. And we did the reconfiguration of the computer lab and decreased the number of physical computers in that room. We went from 11 to 5, and we will be, due to some discussion with the public, we're going to re-increase the number in there and reshift them around to about 8 for at least for now, until we get our laptop checkout procedures working.
Okay, thank you. All right, the library director's report.
Project updates. The library department has been working on annual staff evaluations using the structure that was reviewed by the board over the summer. These are scheduled to take place between September and December each year. Other than a few remaining forms to be signed, the process is complete. The reviews have been filled in, filed in the employees' personnel files. To close out the year, I will use some time to make sure that all of the files that are in order, I'll also use to read through those reports. Overall, the process went well. We may make a few small adjustments to the forms over the for next year. The IT department is also working on creating fillable versions of the forms to allow the option of typing it in as opposed to writing it in by hand. But the process went really well, and I think that people appreciated the opportunity for feedback in both directions. Last week, I met with the city manager and the treasurer of the city of the Village of Clarkston to review the funding history of the library in response to questions that have come up in recent city meetings and were reported in the Clarkston News. Neither of them were in these positions when the district library was formed, so this should assist them in addressing those questions. And it wasn't a very long meeting, but I was able to provide them some documentation and fill in some blanks that they didn't understand, so I think we're good there.
I wonder how many years you're going to have to do this every year.
Before, I don't know. I'm not really, it's a really good question. I don't know. But
Because
it
it
does
seems
keep-
like you've had to do it every year, you've had to.
Well, and I don't mind. helping them
It's
out,
important to do it, but I just was curious.
Yeah, yep, eventually it should be old news, I would hope.
It will be, but keeping it forefront right now is good.
Yep, yep. On Friday, December 8th, the library hosted the third program that was part of the James L. Beard Grant Award from the Metro Detroit Book and Author Society. The Clarkston High School Drama Department presented a Seussified Christmas Carol in the community meeting room, and it drew a crowd of 97 people, and it was loved by all. So it was a great turnout. In terms of collaborations, on December 2nd and 3rd, as Julie mentioned, the Friends of the Library held their annual holiday book sale, and the Church of the Resurrection, our wonderful neighbors across the street, held their annual bake sale. Both projects were a big success, and I wanted to say thank you to all the hardworking volunteers that made these projects possible, and also to the library staff for assisting with the behind-the-scenes details. And then lastly, our Overdrive e-collection is made up of two parts. The portion we buy is a collaborative with other TLN, which is the Library Network Libraries, and our Advantage account, which are additional materials we purchase for our patrons. In an effort to make the most of our electronic collection, we have also joined the Shared Advantage account libraries. This is an opportunity to identify older or multiple copy titles in our Advantage e-collections that are not as popular now as when we purchased them. They may have low circulation and are just gathering dust. We can put them in the Shared Advantage pool with other libraries' Shared Advantage items, and access is provided to all. So it gives new life to these items and also increases the items that our patrons have to enjoy. The good part is all of this takes place behind the scenes, so the fact that I'm telling you this is interesting, but you don't really need to know the details of how it all works technically. What it means is our patrons see more materials, and that makes them happy.
It's nice to see as these kinds of programs get more popular, how people are finding new ways to share the information to the benefit of everyone, really. I mean, it benefits all of the libraries involved, and it certainly benefits the patrons. So.
That's really been, and that's been a nice thing, and that's Brad Ruder, who's our head of technical services, came to me and said, how do we feel about this? And he was able to run me a report of the things that we would be sharing and could show me the things that other libraries were sharing, and I could see that the lists were different enough, what some of the other libraries had and what we had, that it would be
To our
and
advantage.
it would be to our advantage. So, aptly named collection advantage account, and the fact that all these libraries are starting to pitch in and share with each other.
I mean, it's just kind of a nice, people are adjusting to what's out there and how it can best suit the libraries. And
When it does still give us control. So for example, the Advantage account allows us to buy additional copies of materials that are really popular. So if we don't want our patrons to have to wait as long for the shared pool, we can buy additional copies of things that are hot right now. When those start to say
Right.
less usage, we can then open them up for everybody. But we get to control which titles we share in the pool. So we don't have to share everything that's in the Advantage account. We can say, no, we're still keeping these bestsellers for our patrons only, but some of these things that aren't getting as much usage, we can share. And so it's maximizing everybody's collections, I think.
creative,
It's nice that they're able to provide that level of control.
a creative solution.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Julie? Okay, now we'll move to regular business. So number one is the presentation of the proposed library website update.
So, is that us? Yes, that must be us. So over the last year, it was decided that we were going to go through and redesign the Clarkston Independent District Library's website. We built a committee of people from all of the departments, so every department represented across the whole library. We've been working on it, like I said, for about a year at this point. It'll be just over a year once we do go live with it. The intention is to go live at the beginning of January. We do still have some placeholder images and some placeholder text, not much text, but most of the images are staff images that we have still placeholders. But those are firming up as we speak. And this also to prevent what happened with our previous website, the one we have now, where we started getting longer and longer pages because we didn't have really the strength of an actual procedure behind how we were supposed to be updating the website and who's supposed to be updating and that sort of thing. We've also put together that particular piece to an actual procedure for approval of stuff and things like that. So much of the work, most of it, was put together by my assistant Connor, and he's going to be the one that's actually presenting the new website and our path that we used to get there. So unless you have any questions for me, I'd like to turn it over to Connor.
Thanks, Bill. So, like Bill mentioned, we're going to kind of go through, I thought it'd be fun to take a quick stroll down memory lane and see where we've been with the website and kind of before we get to where we're going. So this is a look at CIDLibrary.org as it stood and as it's going to stand. So the Internet Archive, the very first snapshot that they took of our website was all the way back in 2004. Some of you may remember this color scheme. I don't, but I didn't live in the city at the time. But we had this nice green and purple color scheme going on, and this is the earliest copy of the website that we could get a hold of. Moving on into 2007, things hadn't really changed a whole lot, except we added our Polaris catalog, so we had a link right there so that you could check out books and things like that, just like we have now. And then moving on into 2009, something broke. I assume the website didn't look like this in 2009. I can't say I was a frequent visitor. But the Internet Archive has it just plain text at the time, so I thought that was interesting. But moving into 2010, we saw our first ever big redesign, and compared to the green and purple, this was definitely a breath of fresh air. And we had already started to advertise things like our downloadable audiobooks, and we had some things that you're going to see making a return, such as the ability to search the catalog right from the homepage. Into 2013, this was the first snapshot that we took after the name change, which started to become a little bit of a mouthful all the way at the top of the page. And we also started to move some things around in addition to some open hours information, some video formats that would have worked back in 2013, in addition to the continuing website search. Late into 2013, we saw a sort of minor move to the side redesign. Some things on the back end kind of switched around a little bit, although the style was kept very similar. And things were starting to look a little bit wordy, especially for 2013, with things on the side here, and it wasn't a very visual experience. And then into 2014, we saw our second major redesign, and this probably looks pretty familiar. This is the basis for what we have had up until this point. You can also see some things like our website, or our catalog search up at the top, a featured video, and an upcoming events list. Unfortunately, as early as late into 2014, we had already started to outgrow the new website. This is a zoomed out image as far as I could go, but it goes down even further with just promotional materials that we kept adding and stacking on top without any sort of a solid procedure to make sure that we kind of culled the fat and had the most important things featured on the homepage. And then in 2015, things were pretty similar. You can see that we've removed our catalog search and our upcoming events at this point. We've added things like our social media icons to help bolster our social media presence, and also the video kind of having a homepage spot again. 2016, this is right around the time that I came on board, and we started to promote our e-library things, so things like Hoopla and Overdrive and Zinio at the time. In addition to adding our Twitter feed right on the homepage, we kind of cut back on the social media icons. And then of course today, we've added the carousel up to the front. We've added a little bit more color with our new redesigned logo, but things have remained largely the same over the past couple of years. So what is next for the website? So as Bill mentioned, the website committee, we've been hard at work. There's been a bunch of us, we're a committee of 7. And we've been working over the last year, and we've rebuilt CIDLibrary.org completely from the ground up. Why did we do this? What were some of our goals? The first one was more dynamic department pages. One of the problems with having a home page that you can just kind of throw all this stuff at, and one of the causes of that is that departments never really felt like they had a place where they could advertise their things. So if Lawrence has an adult program that he wants to advertise, it had to be thrown up on the home page because there was nowhere else for it to go.
In addition, if they wanted to do any of that stuff, they had to either come to Bill or I, and we had to be in charge of taking care of that because the website was complicated to use from the back end. It really took a professional. So in this redesign, we really wanted to give department heads and all of the people working under them the power to edit their own pages and promote their own content on those department pages. A more colorful design as well. You know, maybe not quite the green and purple we had before, but finding something that is a little bit more modern and will also make the website pop a little bit more and look more inviting to people. More logical organization. If you spend any time on our website right now, and I feel okay saying this because it was my responsibility, if you click more than 1 or 2 levels deep, some things start getting a little bit confusing. Things are in a lot of different places. The adult tab has made host to just about all of our services for some reason. So coming up with a way that we've added a lot of services over the past 7 years since that redesign. So really sitting down and figuring out where do all these things go in a logical hierarchy, that was super important. A better adherence to web practices, just making sure that the website is mobile responsive. Is it going to be pleasant to use for people on mobile devices with disabilities, things like that. So that has been something that we've been trying to keep track of as well. And finally, room to grow so that we don't run into that issue where our homepage is just full of a whole bunch of stuff. Creating a back end that's really scalable so we can add pages and really expand in the future without having to spend a whole year and a bunch of meetings to redesign something. So we've been through a lot of revisions with this. This is some of the behind the scenes photos of what we were working on. Early on, we took what we had and we just kind of added some things to it. We played around with adding the search back. We tried some pictures of the building, obviously some new menus. We even rebuilt kind of a new menu from the ground up. We went through a bunch of different color variations. There was legitimately a point in my life where I thought this salmon might work for our website. Rest assured, we didn't choose the salmon. And for some reason, my coworkers let me keep working on the website after I proposed that. So, I don't know, a lenient bunch. And after a while, we subdued the color schemes a little bit. But we're finally ready now to show you what we've been working on over the past 12 months. So please hold while I flip over. And here it is. Here it's not. Here it is. I'm going to pull this back just for a second so that I can see it over here as well. So now that you've seen, that's it. That's all you get.
Just the teaser.
Just the teaser. No, I'm kidding. Let me grab.
But as he was saying, yes, we've been working with the committee, like I said, which was made up of at least one member from every department. And so that way we were able to teach the department people how that they would have access to their own stuff. And kind of a little bit on how they were going to do it, make it make sense for them. Because, like you said, the beginning, in the other website, if you knew how to do stuff, it was not too difficult to do, but it was not as easy to teach somebody how to access the back end, and there was a lot of stuff going on in the back end. There's a lot of documents, everything was set up so that you had access to just this big list of stuff. So with some of the ways we were editing the new site, we were making it much easier for them. They have fewer things to look at and stuff like that. So it should be a lot easier for our departments to actually make their own changes to keep the data, to keep their pages from becoming stale, which is what we're hoping that does not happen. Didn't you want to duplicate it?
I did want to duplicate, but I was hoping earlier, before when I was testing this out, I was able to get the full screen up there. So one of the things you can see, which is super handy, is that the website is more responsive now. So it will change to a more mobile-centric design, which is what our menu is up top here. But I was looking for earlier I had it duplicated so that I could show you the full menu, which I've done in meetings before, so I don't know why. I think that I apologize. I think that the secondary, of course, this isn't working the way I wanted it to. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so this is the home page. As you can see, we've decided on a new standardized color scheme, so we've got sort of this blue and orange going on, which you've seen through a lot of our promotional materials in the past. We've got, the carousel has made a return, so we have a program carousel that we'll be able to promote things in. One of the things you'll also notice as I scroll down a little bit is that we've removed the blog section that we saw on the other revisions of the website. And the biggest reason for doing this was that, and we noticed once we added the carousel, that blog section where we would add a post or two, it really got neglected because that carousel was so good at being a marketing tool, and oftentimes if a program wanted to be promoted, we would throw it in up here, and it wasn't super helpful to have it all the way down here. So what we've done instead is we've replaced this with an upcoming events list like we've had on websites in the past. This is pulled directly from the calendar and it's updated dynamically. So we don't need to touch it. And it will pull, I believe it's set right now to pull the 4 most recent events for a week out. So you'll be able to see the same description that you see in Events. And then if you click here, it will open up so that you can go and directly register for it. We have our library hours prominently featured right on the side, in addition to the Connect With Us section, which, because the screen is a little bit more squished than I'd like, these are usually on just one line, but this will give you links off to all of our social media accounts, and also our address, phone number, email address, all that stuff. And then in addition, over on the right side here, we have a return of our Twitter feeds, so people can keep up with us there. And then we also have this, the e-newsletter section on the side here, so people will be able to click on that and they can register directly for our constant contact link. This section is dynamic as well, so we can change it to feature things. One of the jokes we made in the committee a lot was that this is where we put expensive stuff, so that there's always a link off to it and people can find it quickly. Bill, do you have the website posting procedure? Do you want to hit some highlights of that while I try to figure this out so that we can get the full website?
So, like I said, we did come up with a content approval procedure. That, I can't even say it, but I can follow it. If you were interested in copies, I do have additional copies if anybody is interested in looking at them. One of the things we were trying to also solve was consistent quality of images, consistent quality of text. So actually a lot of these things, the department pages, they're still going to have full control over their pages, but their department head has to approve anything that they're going to post onto their pages. The home page, that's being handled primarily through our the marketing group. So they're going to be going through, and if they have to pick up a picture for something, it'll be something that they get from one of our approved sites or pictures that we've taken so that we know the quality of the image that we're using. Let's see. Yeah, the item that says, because our homepage is the online face, the CIDL, extra care will be taken before changes are made to its content. Because, like I said, that is the page that people see as soon as they come up to our site. We have created a webmaster account, a webmaster email that we can, all of our stuff gets sent to so that we need to make changes from it. We've set up in ways that talk about your department pages should not ever really be more than a month old. So if you've got programs, make sure, even if it's an ongoing program, change the image, once a month or so, just to make it fresh all the time. Because that is, again, with the pages we have now, that's not one of the things that we have been doing. We have also started with our, created an approved images folder. We have an images folder on our server that people they don't even need approval to use those, they've already been approved by all of our people, so that's what we can do. Other than, there's some images that we kind of pre-approve, like the summer reading program. They ship us images from there. As long as they're using the high-end images that they send us, that's fine as well. Let's see, what else? Oh, and it says if there's a static image change or a static piece of data change, then that comes through us. That's one of the few things that actually the IT department really needs to handle. Because that's again in a space that they don't really have access to, because that's one of those places that can cause 50-foot web pages. And one of the things that we put down in the procedure that we had just kind of talked about in the past was, again, like I said, making sure the department heads check their pages all the time. If one of their people puts up stuff, that the department head then goes back in periodically and makes sure that it's still fresh, that it's still current, that it's still something that they want to be shown.
Do they have that on their calendar?
Yes, and so that doesn't fall upon Connor and myself then to, hey, by the way, did you change your page? They're supposed to be handling that on their own.
Sounds good.
So now if you want to go in and you're at home and now you want to go in and see what's in the catalog, you want to get something, how do you find that?
Well, that's going to be, we'll show that in the, once you've got the
We're back on
displays
that.
properly, set up properly.
Okay.
But there's right on the home page, there's a link to do a search of the catalog right from the home page, which will take you into the catalog itself. Right now, they said nobody can see it if you're not hooked directly to our network internally. We don't have it outside yet. You may notice now. So the menu's a bit different now.
I apologize. I was having computer issues, which is ironic, seeing as fixes the computer issues. I guess, in a way, it's good that I was here. As you saw before, if you're on a mobile device or if the screen gets to be a certain size, the menu along the top will convert into that 3 little lines you've probably seen on your phone, where you can tap, it'll pull out a different menu, which is great, and that one does work, but I wanted to make sure we had the full desktop experience here, so I had to do a little bit of fiddling around. But this is the way that our top menu looks right now. We're going to go through most of this, but there are a few things on the menu itself that are interesting to look at. First of all, our new e-library section, so that's been given a more prominent spot. We were super happy with the tab that we had over to the right, but it didn't work well on all device sizes, and it was a little bit hard to find. And these are super important services that we offer. So our e-library tab now drops down. This is a placeholder image, but it's got a much more visual experience. It works with a key, so you'll be able to see, okay, the services with this icon offer audiobooks, with this icon offer ebooks, et cetera, et cetera. And then you'll be able to click right on the icon of the image so that you'll be able to go to their website. So this will let people know, hopefully it'll do 2 things. It'll make it easier to find services you're looking for. If you know you want e-audiobooks, you'll be able to find any of the services we have now or in the future that offer them. And it'll also kind of help patrons get familiar with the different services that we offer and what they're using. So I click on the big Z, so I know I'm going to Zinio, which is now RB Digital. We fixed it.
Some of the 2 of the 3 services have changed their names, basically.
Like I said, it's
Zinio is
been
RB Digital now, and the Overdrive app is now called the Libby app.
Yeah. It's been
Why
a
they
year
changed it,
ago,
we don't know,
so.
but they did.
Keep you on your toes.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that is handy. And then we've also integrated a catalog search directly into the homepage now. So you don't necessarily need to go right to the catalog page. You can do a keyword search of our catalog right from here. And then once you get there, if you decide you want to refine your search further, obviously the player's catalog still has options for that. And then you'll also notice along the top we have our My Account link, which is the same as it is right now, hopefully a little bit easier for people to find. And then we also have a link off to our Pack Pass, which is the initiative we've been doing with the schools, as you're aware. And Pack Pass is going to have its own page. This one is still in flux a little bit, but we're using the school district's colors. It's going to have access to all the services that we're promoting through Pack Pass there, and it has its own URL that they find on the back of their card as well. So moving through the actual content of the website, under our first tab, the Explore tab, this is really where all of the library services, the traditional library services are living. So each of the departments has their own page. So this is Lawrence's adult page. So it starts off with all of our pages have sort of a banner image up at the top. It's a little bit more visual. It lets you know what page you're on. You get a description of what that page is about. So this is a description of the adult department. We have that same upcoming events list that you saw on the home page, except what's nice about this is that this is curated for purely adult events. So if you're looking on this page, you're only going to see events that are tagged in events as adult events. All of the department heads have their picture and contact information on their page. One of the things that we thought was really important when we were rebuilding the website was getting the faces of all the people that work here out into the public so that people start to know us and start to develop a bit of a rapport. And that is what the department pages have allowed us to do, and also the Our Team page we're going to show in a little bit. So down here, these are a couple of the things that Lawrence chose to highlight on his page. So things like his readers' advisory lists, the book groups, the book club in the bag that we've been doing, and then also the morning book group discussion club. And then finally at the bottom, all of the department pages are going to be featuring a recommended book that the librarian, the head of the department, or someone in their department will be recommending a book, writing a short blurb about it, and then we'll have a link to it on their department page. Also in the new year, we're going to be looking at doing a carousel of books along the top. That's sort of a new and noteworthy. We don't have that module yet, but it's going to be shortly after launch is something that we'll be looking at getting. So you'll see sort of a similar trend across these pages. This is the teens page. Again, starts with the description. We have a picture of the person leading the department, and then the upcoming events. Alexa chose to feature some Teen Lead stuff on her page, so we have links off to the calendar, the Teen Lead application, and then also a Learn More button down here. And then certain things like the Teen Art Show, the coding program that Alexa and I have been running, and then also some additional teen resources and recommendations. So this is actually really cool. This is featured on both the kids and parents page and the teens page. This is a recommendations form that people will be able to fill out, requesting different items in the library. And once they finish filling this form out, it sends an email directly to Alexa so that she can look at getting different items that our patrons might be interested in having.
So these are recommendations from the public to the library?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes. And they're done in a digital way. It's easy to do online, and they'll come directly through email. The other cool thing that we're featuring with the art show is we've kind of given the art show its own page and its own living space so that we can feature all of the artwork from the winners from past years. These names, Han Solo didn't win. I didn't have the names, so they're placeholder names at the moment. But all the artwork is actually our winners from last year. So we'll use this to promote, obviously, the upcoming art show and all the information about that, and then also kind of show off some of the art and give, you know, the people that won, give them a little bit more exposure. And then again, we have the recommended book at the bottom of the page. Tracy's page for the kids and parents is, again, it's got a similar thing. She's got this featured section up along the top, which is going to be featuring download books when we go live. She also has the same sort of motif with the 4 boxes, a recommendations link, resources, the youth services blog, and then also a storytime page, which was another one of our efforts to get put some faces to names. So all of the different storytime librarians have all written a little blurb about themselves. They've taken a fun picture kind of relating to the story times that they do. Before we go live, there will be pictures of all the story times as well, sort of action shots on the right-hand side. And then obviously links off to the event page so that you can see when those story times are happening. Since it's a constant in the library, it's one of the things that we're known for, we wanted a place to feature that. And then again, the upcoming events. As with the other pages, this is curated just to those kids and parents events. So you won't be seeing adult events mixed in here. This is just for kids. And then, of course, the recommended book at the bottom. And then finally, the business page. Trevor, our business librarian, selected a bunch of different resources that he thought would be useful, linked those there, in addition to different contact information, including his own. One of the things you'll notice as we're going through all these department pages, in contrast with the other department pages, is even on pages like the business page, which you might think of as a little bit more dry, we've made it a huge effort to add more images and make it a more visual experience while you're browsing through the website. That should make it more pleasant. It breaks up the information better. The font size is also a lot bigger than on the current website, and we've cut down on a lot of that filler text that people just, quite frankly, don't read. So that was a big kind of initiative while we were working on this. The catalog section has been expanded as well, so now you can link to the adult catalog or the children's catalog. And we also have a direct link off to Mel. Except now we also do mention to people, hey, if you haven't checked our catalog first, please do that. It's going to save us money, it'll save you time. But if you need a direct link to Mel, we provided that as a service to all the different pages. And then circulation section, we broke up the circulation section into a bunch of different links because the word circulation doesn't resonate super well with a lot of people outside of the library sphere. So things like borrowing, how do I get a library card, where does my library card work? These all link off to the same page, which has a similar sort of format as the other pages do. It's a little bit more text heavy, But then we also have a frequently asked questions section at the bottom that Annette has written and will be curating over time. So that's a lot of good information about checking out items. Research is another huge thing that the website does, and it was one of the things that before all of the information was there, but it wasn't necessarily in a way that was super user-friendly. So we've done a lot of work on the new research pages. Obviously, A to Z research is pretty self-explanatory. We have links off to all of our different resources on an A to Z list. But the things that we're most excited about are the different category pages. So these categories exist on our current website, but if you've been there, it's actually just one long page with like 10-point font, and it's kind of hard to tell where one category ends and the other ones begin. Now, every single category has been given its own page. It's got its own header image. It has its own different icon, and then the librarian that is most closely responsible for maintaining that resource has also written a short blurb to help people discover more of the resources that we have. Any of the resources that we have that are sponsored by the Michigan eLibrary, provided by them, are denoted with the Michigan eLibrary logo built into the logo that we created. And then all of our resources obviously are relatively plain. But again, this creates a much more visual experience. You'll be able to sort of browse by logo if you kind of know what you're looking for. If you don't know what you're looking for, but you know that you're curious in something in business and investing, you can read through all of the different descriptions and find something that is going to be to your liking. So hopefully that will help with discovery and increase usage of all of these resources that we've had for a really long time. Events are another super huge thing that we do at the library, and one of the things that we felt on the current website we didn't do a good enough job of promoting outside of the homepage. So of course we have a link off to the event calendar. The program guide, which is our newsletter that we send out, we're going to be putting PDF copies of that online so people will be able to download them and look at them, as opposed to just sticking them on the homepage for a week or two when they first come out. Joining our mailing list, of course, is a really awesome way to get a hold of people and let them know about events coming up in the library, so we can do that. And then the calendar can also be filtered by different events, teen events, children events, or adult events. So if we click here, it takes us to the calendar, slowly but surely. And you can see that it's the calendar stripped down of everything that isn't an adult event. So you can kind of find things that way. Of course, if you want to get to the full calendar, that's still available just with the event calendar link, which will take you to the full thing in all of its glory. E-Library tab, we sort of touched on earlier. And then the services. Again, services is another thing that, a lot of things that the library offers that people maybe don't know about, such as notary, the meeting rooms that we have available, study rooms, scanning and faxing. We just bought the Simple Scan station not too long ago, so having a place to feature that. So now we have a nice page where you can read a little bit about each of the services, figure out how you can qualify for it or what are the requirements. But mostly this is just a way for us to get exposure about the different things that we do and allow people to know, hey, we do have meeting rooms and spaces available if you want to write something out, or if you do need documents notarized, we can do that here. One of the things to note is, obviously on these pages, we've used like a lot of stock images. They look professional and they look nice, but over time, over the next year, we would like to get a lot of these replaced with images of the actual library and in here, make it more personal. But it wasn't, with all of the other stuff going on, it wasn't a huge priority, but these things will likely be changing over time, in addition to these backgrounds, to be more related to us. And then the final section, the adult section, this is where all of those community links and our community partners are living now. So everything over in this community section will link off to their individual sites. These are everything that was on the old website is here, with the exception of a few websites that no longer existed. So we got all those, they can link off. But then over in the CIDL section is where we've really added a lot of new stuff. So the first one is the Our Team section, and this again is kind of contributing to that, putting faces to names and things like that. So this is the section where all of the departments will be featured. Headshots will be taken of everybody, and also where applicable, you'll have first, last name, and also an email address to contact that person. We have every single person in the library is represented here. And some of them were encouraging to get headshots. We're hoping that everybody will get a headshot taken at some point. Some people are a little camera shy, so we're not trying to force it on anybody. You'll notice that some of this stuff is still a little bit work in progress. Christina's been working very hard on getting the pictures taken, getting them edited. So some of this stuff is still a little bit in flux, but this is the style that you can expect in a couple of weeks. Once we're finished, everyone will have their headshot there and also their job title and an email address.
Including yours, I see.
Including mine, yes. Bill and I, being as humble as we are, put ourselves all the way down at the bottom. I was initially going to put myself way up at the top, but there was some concerns about that. My picture hasn't been taken yet, not because I'm camera shy, but because I've been busy with other stuff, which I think is the excuse everybody uses, right? But I promise, you can hold me to it. Mine will be up there. I had the picture of me in the elf costume up there for a while, but didn't quite have the air of professionalism we're going for. So. The history page is actually in need of updating. It's one of the things that we're looking at doing. I'd like to add some of the images that we have of the building, historical photos. So right now this is a copy-paste from the current website, but it's something that it ends with us still being the Independence Township Library. So that is history at the moment, so we kind of need to add another paragraph or two. But it will live on. Library board, this is you guys. You're all here. You're welcome to get headshots as well, if you'd like. But then, of course, board meeting dates, agendas, minutes, packets, bylaws, and all of your names next to your titles so that you get all of the admiration you deserve walking around downtown is all present here.
We need pictures so people know.
Exactly, yeah. Or you can wear a name tag. I mean, one or the other. Like, do you know who I am? So. Friends of the Library, of course, is another huge and important part of the organization, and so we've been working with some members of the Friends to redesign their whole website. So we're this page was built from the top down in sort of things that we thought were very important. So starting with book sales, whatever the upcoming book sale is going to be will be featured here, along with a link to sign up. Obviously, it won't be holiday book sale in January, but that was just to give you kind of an idea. And we also have our Join the Friends, the memorial books, donations, and the Kroger Community Rewards. Hopefully giving these a bigger spotlight so that people will actually be aware of all of them. Make some of our donations through PayPal monetarily, or also donation guidelines for books and things like that that fund all of the book sales. Whatever the upcoming Friends of the Library event is that they're sponsoring, they'll feature on their page as well. In addition to, they have an events list as well that we're encouraging all staff that are hosting a Friends-sponsored event to tag that event with a Friends of the Library as well. So when people go to the page, they can see all of the great things that the Friends do for us. And then, of course, the list of the Friends board, and then some of the projects that they've helped us out with in the past. And then these are kind of boring pages, but just for completeness sake, library policies are now all categorized on here. Not things like the staff dress code necessarily, but things that might be relevant to the public. I'm welcome to put it on there if people want the staff dress code, but I've tried to categorize them, by are they on-site policies, are they circulation policies, are they more relating to services that we offer, and these will link off to PDFs of those individual policies. And these are easy to update as well, and easy to add to or remove from as needed.
So as you guys are approving policies, especially patron-facing policies,
right,
that's exactly where they're going to go.
Okay.
So
having a good place for that, and also our FOIA stuff and all of that stuff, having a good place for that to live. And then the last two pages at the end are obviously our employment, which will just be where we'll post upcoming jobs. And then finally the hours page, which obviously gives us our open hours, our closing dates, and as a bonus little Easter egg, since you're all here, you can get to this hours page just by clicking on the Library Hours logo right there, which will give a quick link to everybody who wants to see when we're closed, or when we're open on Sundays and when we aren't. So that is pretty much the 1,000-feet view of the whole website. There are a couple of other sub-pages and things hiding out, but that is basically everything. I know it's a lot to take in, but are there any questions for Bill or myself?
When can we see it?
We're hoping for a January 2nd launch. So as soon as we get back
as soon as we come back,
holiday,
the day we return from the holidays, we'll be taking the current site down and putting up the new one.
that would be the plan. One of the things that I forgot to mention early on is, as with any change, especially a big change to a website, I'm expecting about 50% of everybody to hate it for like a couple of months. Of course not you, because you're all reasonable people. So we are prepared for that, and obviously taking feedback. One of the things that we've been doing just recently is looking at stronger analytics tools so that we can keep track of what's getting views, what's getting clicks, and what's frustrating people. And we can make changes to the website as needed through a lot of that, with a lot of that information. So there will be a little bit of a learning curve, but hopefully it will be better once it's done. Yeah.
I think it's wonderful.
I do too.
It's so hard, it's terrific.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I'm glad that everybody likes it. It's been a lot of hard work from a lot of dedicated people.
Yes,
That's cool.
and it's clear that there was a lot of input. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
A great improvement.
Yes, yes. And the mobile site is great too. I won't go through the whole thing, but it does scale to mobile, and we make a couple of changes here and there, mostly with the menu and the way that things work, but it's the design philosophy is the same between the two sites.
That's how I normally use it, is on a mobile.
Right, yeah, and most
Yeah.
people do.
And you will see it, you'll see it, and it gets really much easier to use than.
I'm excited about that.
It looks friendly.
And another thing.
We'll put that on our calendar.
January 2nd.
Well, they're holding us to it, aren't they? They're gonna hold us right to it.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
That's right.
Time January 2nd.
Sometime between the hours of 9 and 9. I don't know.
Yeah,
Is that a 99 day?
I think it's a Tuesday.
How much time does it take to do this kind of changeover?
It should take us about, all things being equal, and it goes well, it should take a little more than an hour to 2 hours to make the changeover.
Okay.
If things are not going well, it might take us most of the day. But I've done many of these
Right.
pull and replace websites, and they take about an hour to 2 hours.
So around lunchtime, we'll check in.
Okay. Okay.
You better do it at 5.
Doing the morning first thing.
Great.
Walk
Well,
out the door.
Thank you very
That is
much.
the new website.
Good job.
Thank you. And thank the committee members.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we were very impressed. And now, don't go anywhere, because the next thing is the review and the approval of the copier printer plan.
Okay. So in order to improve printing services for both staff and public, a printing committee was formed to determine what was needed for printing and copying. From this committee, an RFP was written and submitted to 5 vendors, including our current copier vendor. 4 responses were returned, and these were weighed against the original RFP. Factors that were also weighed were existing relationships with the vendor, current technologies, and ease of use of products. With these features, Bill is recommending that we accept the proposal from Toshiba Corporation. In terms of budgeting, this is not a budgeted item. These items are currently being paid for out of 980 equipment, 933 equipment maintenance, and 740.1 operating supplies. Due to the nature of the contract, he's recommending that we budget $15,000 into line 933 equipment maintenance for the 2018 budget year from undesignated revenue, and leave the other line items as is to support the time of transition between vendors. Once the transition has been complete, the funds in those lines can be reallocated for other purposes. So you do have in your packet
A very long
a
presentation.
lengthy presentation from the Toshiba Corporation, and I will let Bill go over that with you.
Yes. So again, yes, I do apologize for doubling the size of the packet this time around, but I wasn't quite sure that they were going to be giving us quite a thorough proposal. As she said, we sent it out to 5 different vendors. 4 responded. The 4 that is the big spreadsheet in there too. Yes, okay. Yes. My 11 by 17 spreadsheet. I do it.
Yes.
The only way I can get it to fit.
It made packet construction a little complicated.
Yes, it did.
But that's okay, we made it work.
So like I said, Rico Direct is our current copier supplier, and due to several issues we've had with the company throughout the years that we've been working with them, inconsistent
Support?
Well, the support, kind of inconsistent, but their staffing changing over and over. They're consistent. I don't know who my rep was by this point this year. Everyone calls me every couple of months, say, I'm your new rep. So that was one factor that figured into why I did not want to select Ricoh. Toshiba it was a company that's actually, it is, even though it is a Japanese company overall, they have all of their staffing is actually done here in Michigan. The corporation in this area, they build their own copiers and printers here. They staff all of their own people here locally in Michigan. And actually they're in, I want to say Southfield at this point. So they moved from Northville to Southfield. And their equipment is rock solid equipment. We've been to their facility at least once to go look at it. It is simple to use, it is fast, it is it's a rock solid product, and we really liked it. I sent Connor the MBM quote talks about it. What's Konica Minolta is another copier manufacturer, and I sent him the picture of their screen. It is, do you remember the old website?
Yeah.
It was worse than that. So it was really complicated to get, just to even get a regular copy out. So, because we have those in other places I frequent, and I'm like, well, I tried to print something the other day, one of them, it took me 15 minutes to figure out how
And
to
you're
do
an
it.
IT guy.
Right. Who's worked with copiers for many years. So yeah, it took me about 15 minutes to figure out how to get this thing to do what I wanted it to do. So the whole breakdown, I went through and took a breakdown of the per page costs that all the vendors gave me, and took an average of what our current printing looked like, and then added some because we're going to be adding printers, so we're going to be adding print.
Right.
You know, because some of the stuff that we're doing off-site now will move in-house. So that's what these numbers are for them, especially monthly costs and the monthly cost per pages. That's where those numbers were generated from. It was existing printers, our existing copier, and the thought that we're moving in some of our prints from outside to in-house. And which one was it? I think one of the vendors did not even, the MBM supplier did not even supply all the pieces that I asked for out of the RFP, so that's why they didn't get considered. So I know that's a lot of information.
Well, the costs were amazingly similar.
Yeah, the costs were amazingly similar. And then some of them just didn't make any sense. Like the applied imaging cost of, what was it, half a cent and 5 cents a page. Didn't matter what it was coming from. It was kind of weird. It was just really an odd number for them to throw at me. Like, no, I don't care what device you're sending it from, it's going to cost you this much. Every other one you saw, there's literally a different cost depending on which printer I'm printing to.
Which makes more sense.
Which makes a whole lot more sense than oh yeah, I don't care what you're sending from.
Which means that they've, probably orchestrated that to make more money for them
And that's what I'm guessing,
Yeah.
or they're expecting us to use the cheaper printers to print, like you're saying, to make more money, because they'll
Right.
be using the ones that actually cost like less than a penny, and they're still charging,
Right.
a third of it.
Which is likely to be where the bulk of the copying is done.
Correct,
It's on
out of the cheap
machines.
ones, right. So, and like I said, Toshiba sent the 47-page document which told you every single thing that you ever wanted to and didn't want to know
More.
about the equipment that they were proposing. But yeah, literally, Connor and I have been to their facility and seen the equipment that they're trying to sell us here, and just some of it's a screen, copy, there, it copies. You're done. Okay, and then the printers are just as simple to use. The scanner is pretty easy to use. It's if people wanted to copy, they just put it in the feeder on the top, and it actually scans both sides of the page, which effectively doubles the speed of the copying. So when we have our couple 100-page sometimes board packets, or some of our larger scan jobs that we run, it decreases our time immensely.
And you feel that the customer service with that is going to be so much better?
Mhm. They stock their parts locally. They don't have to order them from the warehouse, which is this nebulous place outside somewhere that you never know where the warehouse is, but it usually takes 2 to 3 days for us to get those parts. Like I said, they have full machines locally. They have all the parts we could possibly need. They're all local. that was one of the big, one of the big reasons that I liked hearing about the Toshibas. And one of the things you will notice with the way we broke this down, when we went through the printing committee, we wanted to add a copier to the back for us to use for staff.
Right.
Okay, so that was an addition in here, so that's a big addition. We were also adding a couple of printers to departments. The circulation department prints out patron information that really shouldn't be going out to a public printer, but they're on the public side of the building. So, and then instead of having them to walk all the way to the back every time, which, because their desk is supposed to be staffed at all times, we're going to put a printer right up under their desk. Okay. Also.
Private but accessible.
Private but accessible, right, so they don't have to leave the desk to do their job. Technical services also requested a printer because we tend to print on their labels by accident. They'll load a label into the staff printer, and then before they get back to their desk, someone has printed to that printer on their labels. So
I can see where that would be a problem.
You're right. That is one thing we need to do. We need to make sure you guys have your own printer. So that's another thing, another additional printer as well. And it has lived its life very well. We have a wide format printer in the back that was here when I got here. That's 10 years, 11 years ago that this printer has done its job. It's really time for it to be retired. And so this HP Design Jet Z2600, yes, is our current printer's much bigger brother. And they talk about color reproduction, which is one of the things that our marketing department's been asking, make sure that the color they see on their screen comes out on the printer. That's a really important thing for them. And the fact that they can just send a job to it and it prints. You know, those are the two pieces that they really want. They want to be able to send whatever they send, just to send right to their printers. So,
I'm pleased that the departments have had enough time now, over time, to know what they needed.
right, and this allowed them to set up their workflows, and then I said, okay, so what do you want? I mean, how can we change your workflow to make it more efficient for you? And that's one of the big things that we talked about in our printer meeting was like, okay, you see what we have now. In your perfect world, what would we have? And I tried to get as close to that as I possibly could. You know, the marketing firm said, yeah, we want another copier in the back. And then Julie said, well, not only do we need a copier, we also need to make sure we have a second printer, so when the copier is in use, we can still print things. You know, and then, like I said, the labels, the patron information, and still having a printer out in the public area that is, well, you know, a good printer that's quick. And we wanted faster printers because
Simple.
the
Because otherwise you have to go and take somebody away from their desk and have them help them.
Right.
Mhm, right. And so that's what we're shooting for, as simple as possible.
Yeah, that's big on the copier too, because I've been places where I sit there and I read it and I think, wow.
Yeah. and don't get me wrong, copiers are very, very powerful machines. They can do a lot of things. We don't do maybe 15 to 20% of what a copier can do. Well, I don't want to see the other 80% if I don't have to. So, because all it does is confuse people.
Well, it
You know?
does, it is confusing.
It's very, and like I told
All
you,
I want to do is just.
I want to go up there and I want to push a button that says copy and I want to see a copy spit out. That's what I asked for.
Right.
That's what I want.
And I may want to do two-sided copies, or I
Right.
may want to collate, but I probably, as a patron, am not going to get any more
No.
in-depth.
Exactly, that's going to be about it. You know, maybe I need to, and then the really advanced patrons want to sometimes increase or decrease the image.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I want to blow up the image or shrink the image,
Right.
you know, that sort of thing. I don't need to take my 48-page document, print 4 up on a page, double-sided. To, you know,
Yeah.
I can't read that anyway.
No,
But, you know, but the copier can do it.
That's nice.
That's nice, but I don't need it to,
Right.
I don't need to even
I don't
see
need to
that.
know that when I'm trying to figure out which button to push.
Exactly, when I want to make a single copy in black and white. That's all I want to do.
Right.
So, and I also wanted to make sure that, you know, especially with those document feeders, there are a lot of times when those document feeders will break and people will they'll jam and stuff like that. But these ones, like, so we went through and we took, one of the demos that Toshiba was, she took a piece of paper, crumpled it up, and and tore it into 4 or 5 sheets. It all left it together, but it was all one mess, and she set it on the feeder, ran it through.
And the copier
And the counter went, all right. I said, okay, and gave me my sheet out. I was like, okay. And then the second thing was also with our marketing department primarily and the children's department, they print really heavy paper. Not quite construction paper, but just one step up from that. And so that was one of the questions. How heavy can you print? They said that pretty much, there isn't a paper I've seen that we can't print on. You know, it talks about up to like 110-pound bond paper, which is really heavy-duty paper. You know, card stocks and stuff like that. Those are the sorts of things that I made sure that I asked for with all of these. So,
Because that will enable a lot more of the printing to be done here instead of being
Correct.
sent out,
Mhm.
because
yep.
quite often that's what people need printed elsewhere is those cardstock.
Which will then speed up any of our, you know, if we have to do a mailing, we don't have to wait for 4 to 6 days for them to get back to us with our prints. You know, so we can just send it to the printer, 50, 60 pages a minute, whatever comes out. So.
You mentioned about, you know, several, shrinking it down, like, I'm thinking like a PDF. If you want to get, like you've got slides and you want to get 6 slides per page, can you still do that?
Sure.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And that's
We
done.
get that question all the time at work, so that's a common one.
Can you? Yes.
But you can do that, it's just not
Sure.
very, sure.
It's just not, I mean, and I think what you're talking about is from your computer.
Right,
You know,
right,
sending
right.
a print out from your computer.
Right.
Yeah, and that's no problem.
Oh, good.
That's, yeah.
That is what I was talking about. Thank you.
And what I was talking about was somebody taking like a big document, a
Oh,
long
yeah.
document, like the 47-page document
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Toshiba,
yeah.
and turning it into 4 pages.
Okay,
You
good.
know, which you can do. I can do it.
Thumbnails, they're little thumbnails.
Yes, they're only about this big,
Yeah.
and, you know, they're almost unreadable at that size. But that's how I did it when I was setting up my gigantic spreadsheet. I used that exact feature, you know, shrunk it down to 4 by 4 to
Right.
make it so that I didn't waste a bunch of paper to do what I was doing.
How long did it take you to do all of this, approximately?
We started working on, the committee was formed, I think, back in September, was when we got the committee together. It took, the longest part of the time was actually building the RFP to send out to the vendors. Once I got back, the stuff was the beginning, middle of November. I got back the middle of that stuff, and then from there to Thursday, whatever day I turned it into Julie, was what it took to get the data put together.
Okay, do they come and train everybody, or?
They do. Training's included, installation's included, removal of the old product is included.
Oh, that's
Oh,
nice.
my.
We like that,
Mhm.
you know.
It's actually quite important because a lot of times it's very difficult to get rid of those items because they're considered toxic waste.
That they are. Unfortunately, much of the equipment that I deal with is considered toxic waste once it's done.
Are there any other questions for Bill? As always, it's very thorough, thank you. All right, we'll accept we'll have two motions here. I'll accept the motion to approve the plan.
So moved.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the proposal from Toshiba for their printing solution. Any comments or questions? You've been very thorough. We have a lot of reading to do. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
And this next one is for the 2018 budget, not for the 2017 budget. This will be the first budget
Sure.
adjustment.
Right, but we've already
Yep, just wanted to make
approved
sure
the
that
2018 budget.
that's clear, make sure that that's in the motion.
And I'll accept the motion for that.
I move to approve the budget adjustment for the 2018 budget for $15,000 from the undesignated revenue into line 933, equipment maintenance, to cover the new contract for calendar year 2018.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the budget adjustment for 2018 of $15,000 from undesignated revenue into line item 933, which is equipment maintenance to cover this contract. Any questions about that? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion is approved. And we thank the committee for all of their
Yes.
work.
Lots of work. Been busy.
And that means you can be excused to the other meeting.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Welcome, thank you.
And we'll move to item 3, which is an update from the attorney regarding our CIA options.
On October 16, 2017, the library board made a decision regarding the library's participation in the Sashaba Road Corridor Improvement Authority, SRCIA. According to statute, the library board had 60 days from the township's public hearing to determine if they would like to opt out of this tax capture. Other options included opting in or possible agreements regarding shared revenue with the Corridor Improvement Authority. Once the 60-day window had passed, there would be no other opportunity to opt out of this tax capture, which will extend until 2029. However, opting back in or opting in with shared revenue options could happen at any time. It was the recommendation of the library's attorney that the prudent course of action was for the library board to opt out of the SRCIA tax capture at that time. The library board requested that the library's attorney provide additional information about the other options regarding the SRCIA. So in terms of attorney's legal review, the library's attorney provided the included document outlining the other options regarding the participation in the SRCIA and would be happy to address further questions on this information as needed. So pretty much she sent it to answer your questions, and is there anything else you would like me to ask her?
I thought she was quite thorough.
That's the word I was going to use. Very thorough.
Explain
And
each
clear.
3 options very thoroughly.
Because I think rescinding the motion is not on the table for us. So we would be really looking at options 2 and 3, which we don't have to look at this moment.
That's right.
No, I
No,
don't think so.
but based on when you actually made the decision, it was stated clearly by the board that there, that it was in order to have time to do additional research. And that's why I said to the
That's right.
attorney, let's get the additional research out there and make sure everybody knows that we are talking about this and the decision.
We need it.
Yep, so these are the options, and if there are any questions, I can ask her to do anything further. Or even think about what we need.
Yeah.
I think that covers.
Yeah, I thought that covered,
Might have arisen.
Okay.
that was very helpful in helping us to
Yeah.
consider those items.
No, I'm glad this is on here, and I'm glad that we got this from the attorney. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we want to consider the items, and we want to consider the timeline of the discussion of the items.
Well, one of the things that she did point out, and I did ask her about this, she provided me with this document, and I did say to her, there is an attorney-client privilege on this, and it does say confidential, and she said, well, by the board discussing it publicly in the meeting, then that privilege has been waived. And I said, well, to me, what's in this document is pretty innocuous anyway. Is there any reason why I wouldn't put it in the packet? And she said, no, if you want to put it in the packet, go ahead. So I thought that was good, that the public could see, very transparent, what was being said,
Right.
what's on the table, what had been discussed, and that sort of thing. So I just put it right in the packet.
Yeah, it's not, you would worry more about if there were litigation
Right.
involving the issue, obviously, then that would be not
Yeah.
Right.
up for public.
But it does say confidential right on there, and I am aware of it when I put it in the packet, and I asked her
Yeah.
about it, and she
Yeah.
said, if you want to make that public information, then just go ahead and say so. So I did.
Yeah.
So it is in the packet.
It is in the packet, and it's
And it does
publicly posted on the
clarify,
library's
it does
website.
clarify some of the issues, so I think that's good.
So that we will discuss this in the future. We will not discuss this tonight.
No.
No,
No need.
Okay.
So we are thankful for it. We need to digest this further and possibly have a workshop on that.
And that's fine.
And probably after the holiday season.
And if anything occurs to you and you want to shoot me an email, and I can send that out to
All right.
her, and if anything does come up.
Okay, thank you for asking the question.
No problem.
So we got some more information. We do like to be data-driven, right, in our decisions?
Yep.
So we
Yeah,
like
it's
information.
good to have.
We're library people.
We are.
Research is key.
So we will keep that in our packet for further consideration. And at this time, we should look at the review and approval of the final year-end budget adjustments.
Okay, so I handed out to you, and this will go into the minutes, the budget As it has been amended, so the long tall, the portrait spreadsheet, we're looking at 2017, which is on the far left, right after the numbers. This is the budget as it has been amended over the course of the last year, even including the budget adjustments from last month. I went through and did a run from QuickBooks of everything we've expended so far, so basically a year-to-date as of today. And we have a few line items I'm a little concerned about. So you have a secondary spreadsheet, which is a landscape spreadsheet that, like I did last month, that shows you the few budget adjustments that I'm going to be requesting and where I would take those funds from. So the first one that's on the list is another one from Brad, and you'll remember I said last month that he had one more budget adjustment in him for the e-content. And he didn't want to give you a full number until he knew for sure. So he's asking for $3,300. I'm recommending we take that out of line item 818. We did come in under budget on the contract services for the engineer for the parking lot. You'll remember because he did some of this year's work last year, and we made a budget adjustment last year, so that money is available to be moved. So $3,300 from 818 to 982.5 to make up for that increased usage due to PAC Pass. The next one that I have on my list is 924, which is water and sewer. And I'm seeing that looks like we need to add about $600. That we can take from 975, that's that building budget. Remember where the parking lot came in under budget? So we should be able to cover that and move that to 924, so we'll come in appropriately for water and sewer.
Was that because of increased irrigation?
It does, yep. We definitely are seeing an increase in watering. I think that we may end up for 2018 bumping that up a little bit. We want to make sure that all of the hard work that the Garden Club has put in the landscaping is getting appropriately watered. Last year, you'll remember, we had to make a huge budget adjustment because we had all that new sod.
Right.
That was not due to sod this year. The sod that they've added,
That they're going to replace.
isn't even going to be irrigated because it's at the far end of the parking lot beyond the irrigation system. But this is just because of we did some increased watering on some of the gardens to make sure that we're, especially things like where the new memorial trees are and things like that. We certainly don't want any of those to suffer and not make it. So $600 from 975 to 924 to manage the water. And then I did mention last month that I wanted to wait and see about what I thought we needed. We had a couple of benefits lines that we were a little bit off. The first one is 717, which is life insurance. We're up by about $250. That can come out of 975. 722, which is short-term disability, we're off by about $600. And then 923, which is long-term disability, we're off by about $100. So make those small budget adjustments, and that should get us where we're supposed to be.
We'll still have money in
Yep.
975.
Yep, and we will still have, I believe, some other line items that will allow for money to go into the fund balance at the end of the year. For example, the amount of money that we've paid out in rebates from our settlement that comes from Oakland County every month. We budgeted $10,000 in that line item, and we haven't used hardly anything like that this year, fortunately. So we always make sure to set aside the money to make sure that we have to turn money back over we can do that. So I think we're in really good shape this year. I think we did really well in terms of being frugal, and some of our projects came in under budget.
Yeah, and this is really very minor with the exception of the e-collection, but that's because of the program with the schools, and that's a big plus, so.
And we did dip into fund balance to do some bigger projects like the space planning in the adult area and that kind of thing, but some of those other line items, we didn't do a lot of shuffling around in between, so some of those other line items that will go back into fund balance, so we'll still recoup some of that. And next year we do have some big projects on the list that are budgeted in, like the phone system and the business area and some of those kinds of things, so we've got some good things coming up.
Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the budget adjustments as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 budget adjustments as presented. Any other questions or comments on that? If not, I'll accept a vote. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. All right, so we have, this is it for the budget for the year, huh? In that case, I will accept a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at, what time is it?
7:18.
I'll accept that. 7:18 it is. Thank you very
No,
much.
I didn't either.